Hi. Today I want to speak to all of my beautiful, amazing, empowered, successful, high achieving women out there who find it hard to be in relationships with men. There's so many reasons that we can find it hard to be in relationships with men. We've got some of our usual kind of reasons that, men are intimidated by me, or that, there's no good men left, or I always have to take charge, all those kinds of things. And while they're real complaints and they're real challenges, there is a way around it. And I see this so often in my work, but also with myself. I've seen this in my own life and in my own relationship. And this is why I want to share it with you. I also have seen this in so many of my clients, and lots of my clients, especially this last group of women that have just come through my Love Codes training. Pretty much all of them are high achieving women who've had really similar challenges. And there are quite a few different little programs that we have been inundated with as women, that we've grown up with and that run our lives in the way that we do relationship, that kind of stop us from being able to have that loving relationship with men that we really want to have. And obviously in my Love Codes course, I talk about a lot of them, and I'll be speaking about them in my webinar that's coming up soon too. If you're not already registered for that, just pop your name down below or send me a PM and I'll add you to the list. But for today, I want to speak a little bit about sadness, and how I know for me, I don't like feeling sad. When something, and not only do I not like feeling sad, so often I don't even realize I feel sad because, hi Marianne, thanks for watching, honey. I'm talking about how high achieving women can often find it difficult to be in loving relationships, and how it's not our fault that there's programming that has, caused us to be in these challenging situations. One of the things that we can do is recognize how we don't like to be sad. I don't like to be sad. And often when I feel sad about something, I don't even have a moment to feel the sadness. I go straight into fixing mode. And so I realized after a long time in my life and in relationships and through the work that I've created, I realized that I'm feeling sad more often than I knew. I more often, and a lot of the women that I work with, high achieving women, will more generally and more often go into feeling angry, or getting into change mode, getting into let's make a difference. And so then we go into that space where we try and fix the situation, often fix our men or fix the relationship or fix the issue. We, especially with high achieving women, sometimes, yes, anger is a really active emotion. So often we'll go there, but if we don't go there, we go to fix it mode. So we sit down, we try and work it out, we try and talk to him, we take a moment and step back and think, oh, well, what's he done and what have I done and how can we do it differently? And we try and talk about this with our partners. It all sounds really clever and fine, doesn't it? Like, it sounds really rational. And in fact, if you spoke to any man about that, they'd probably say, oh, yeah, that sounds like a really good idea. But the truth is, not only does it not really work, it does a couple of really, really negative things. One is, and this is probably the worst one, is that it pushes us out of our polarity. So it puts us straight into that masculine polarity where we're doing and fixing and trying to make a change. And it pushes him into his feminine polarity where he has to listen and receive. Or he'll stay in that masculine polarity, and then we get at loggerheads. So it's like we're fighting each other. And that's just one of the things that it does that's not so helpful. But the other thing that it does that's not helpful is it takes away an extremely powerful opportunity that we have in that moment to cultivate very, very deep love and support from the man that we're with. So as high achieving women, one of the biggest complaints that I have from my clients, and I had from myself too for so long, is that the man that I'm with, it starts off fine, but eventually it's like he's, it feels like they're almost not good enough. It's like they can't step up. They can't give me what I really want. They can't be that man that I really want him to be. Hi, Tamsin, darling. Thanks for watching. Talking about high achieving women and how we can often not be met by men, and how we can change that. So often we by trying to change it, by trying to fix it, we're taking away a really powerful opportunity we have to cultivate that kind of relationship that we want. And that is by actually stopping, not getting angry, not trying to change it, not trying to work it out, but instead being sad, feeling your sadness. Sadness is such an incredibly beautiful, deep, transformative, and powerful feeling to have. Problem is, it's gotten a really bad rap. A lot of us are afraid to be sad because we might have had times in our lives where we've gone into what we can consider depression. But sadness in its healthy state is part of our psyche's way of coming back to homeostasis. All of our feelings are a very healthy process that our psyche uses to bring us back to a place of wholeness. And because we haven't been taught how to be with them in a healthy way, we push them away or we change them, and therefore we find it hard to come back to homeostasis. That's another kind of side issue. But what I'm talking about here is how being sad helps us to have the man that we really want to have. And here's why. When we feel sad, there's no projection, there's no anger. We're not creating a reason for him to run away and hide. We're just feeling sad. And guess what? Men, in general, especially if he's your man, likes you to be happy. Men want their women to be happy because whether we like it or not, whether we understand it, they take our happiness personally. And if we're sad without a projection, then our man wants to change. He wants to help us. He wants us to feel better. When we're sad, he actually steps into care mode. He steps into taking care of us. When I'm sad, and I'll give you a personal example. This was last night, actually, just last night. I can give you a live example. My beautiful husband told me at the last minute reminded me at the last minute that he was leaving early this morning to go to a meeting, which meant that, not just any meeting, mind you, he's been invited to be on an advisory council for the Victorian government as to how to implement better solar power and renewable energy. This is an amazing thing to do. Anyway, he tells me last night, and I got so angry because I was supposed to have the morning off. We have a small guy, a son, and I was supposed to have the morning off. And so I got so angry. And the thing is, he'd actually put it in our diary, so it wasn't his fault. And I was angry, and I was telling him, and I was getting angry with him, and he was justifying the situation, and we were fighting basically. And then he went away, and I said, just leave me alone. And I was in the shower, and I just stopped, and I went through one of the processes that I teach in my Love Codes training that helps me to get out of my head and get out of the emotional reaction and actually come into the feeling state without there being any distraction. And when I felt it, I was sad. I was so sad, and I started to cry. And it wasn't that kind of cry that I wanted his attention. I was just sad and crying. And he heard me, and he came in, and it was like something opened up in me. And then all of a sudden he stepped in. He held me, and he said, how can we fix this, babe? How can we change this? What can we do? And he really stepped into trying to work it out, and he became my hero. Now, that made me feel better. It made me feel held. It made me feel met by this beautiful man. But it also made him feel better because it made him the hero. It stopped him from being the enemy. Now, if I was angry with him, that makes him the enemy. He can't help me. He can't step in. But if I let myself be sad, then he wants to help. He wants to be my hero. And this happens so often. I've seen this happen so many times with my clients. And as I said, just in the last group that went through, there's one client in particular who would always go into fix-it mode. And she'd go into these relationships. She'd be easy to go into relationships. And they'd start off really great, but eventually it would peter off. The dynamic would dissipate. And we discovered that it was because whenever things weren't feeling great, instead of just feeling sad about it, she would get into fix-it mode. And then what would happen is the relationship would dissipate, the energy would go, the sexual tension was gone. And she started to change that dynamic. And she's now in a relationship where he keeps on stepping up, and she's feeling held and nurtured for the first time, probably ever, in her relationships, because she's such a powerful and dynamic woman. And so, and I see it again and again and again. So I just really wanted to share that with you guys today, that you know, our sadness can be a really beautiful and sacred place, and I understand that it's scary to go there sometimes. It can be overwhelming, but there are some really, really simple tools that once we apply them, we can be sad in a way that feels safe, it feels held, and most importantly, in our relationships with men, being in that place, when we let ourselves be in that place, the men that we're with become that strong, amazing, powerful, present man that we want them to be. We actually have the power to help cultivate that in our men, or, you know, create the grounds for it to grow. So that's it for now. I think, there's so much more I could say. As I said, if you haven't already signed up for my webinar, then do send me your details, PM me, make a comment below, and I'll sign you up. It's happening in a few weeks, and we'll go really deeply into some of these concepts and actually apply some of the very real practical processes so that you can make these changes in your life. Thanks for watching.